My brother asked me to help him make a really special Mother's Day gift for my sister-in-law. So in this video, I'm going to show you how easy it is to use the xTool F2 Ultra UV laser to turn this family photo into this very special engraving. So let's get started. All right, so I've installed my inner engraving lens into the xTool F2 UV laser. I've put on my inner engraving riser base and screwed it in place. And now I just have to position my canine crystal. So I'm going to position that towards the front of the base, make sure it lines up with this positioning guide here. I'm going to clean off the top of it with a lint-free cloth just so I can get a nice, crisp and clean engraving. Being very careful not to touch the top with my fingers because I don't want to get any oils from my hand onto the glass that could interfere with the laser. Now, it is really important to note the position of the crystal on the base, especially the angle it makes right here. And I'll show you what I mean in just a sec. Just bringing my phone over so you can get a better look. So, as you can see, you want to see which number that arrow is pointing to. And here it's pointing towards number 35, which is generally going to be the angle it's at when your crystal is at the front of the riser base like mine is. All right, now that I've got everything positioned, I can close my machine and go to the software. All right, so I've loaded up my xTool Studio software and I've connected with my F2 Ultra UV. And now the first thing I need to do is select inner engraving for the processing mode. And the nice thing about the software, it's kind of going to walk you through the whole setup. So it tells you where and how to insert the riser base, which we've already done. And then it asks you for the dimensions of your crystal. So I know that my crystal, it's on its side, I have it down on the long side, sort of laid out horizontally instead of vertically, because the picture I'm going to engrave is horizontal. So I know that in the X dimension, it's 80 millimeters, and the Y and Z are 50 millimeters. And since I'm using the xTool materials here, I know it's the xTool K9 crystal, and I know that refractive index is 1.5, so I can leave that as is. If you're using a different type of material, you need to make sure to enter the refractive index correctly here, because that's going to be crucial for the laser to interact appropriately with the material. All right. And now, in order for it to know where my crystal is positioned, I'm going to give it that measurement that I got. And again, it was at 35, which is sort of the default place it is with your crystals towards the front of the riser base. So now I can bring that into my canvas. And you can actually use your mouse to scroll around and sort of see your material in 3 dimensions. Now, the xTool Ultra UV, the dimensions that it can do this inner engraving with, the horizontal and like the X and Y dimensions, the max it can do is 70 millimeters. And I know that I put mine on the long end, so it's 80 millimeters long. So you'll see that a little bit it does stick off the side of the grid, but that's okay. It'll still position the image correctly because it knows where on the riser base the crystal is. So the next thing I need to do is to bring in the picture that I want to engrave. So I'm going to just grab my file and bring it into the software. All right. I'm going to scale it to fit, and we'll adjust the sizing again later, but I want to be able to see it on the canvas. So this is the photo that my brother sent me that he'd like me to put on this crystal as a really nice Mother's Day gift for my sister-in-law. So it's their whole family, including their first grandchild, there in the middle. So in order to turn this into a 3D engraving, I'm actually going to use the applications that are part of the xTool Studio software. So I'm going to click on my image, and then I'm going to click on 3D photo. And the software is really going to do all of the work for me. I do want to remove the background because I think the trees and stuff will make it a little bit too busy. This does require using some of their AI credits, but it's actually really easy to get more credits. They're very inexpensive. It's definitely worth trying out. It'll make things much easier for you. There are other softwares out there and third-party softwares you can use to generate these images. But especially if you're just starting out, it's really quick, easy, and straightforward to just do all of this within the xTool Studio software. So I'm going to click generate. I'm set to remove the background, and I'm going to let it auto adjust and sort of do all the work for me. And I'm going to hit generate. It takes a couple of seconds for it to do all the calculations and do all that work in the background to generate your three-dimensional image. Just be patient, and it'll get done before you know it. And again, this is just really easy to do right within the software. All right, there we go. It's showing me a preview, and here we can see the photo. It did a great job removing the background, but keeping all the people. The nice thing is you're sort of going to be able to see the photo from both sides. All right, so now we're going to apply it. All right, so I've brought the image onto my material, and you can sort of rotate and see where it is. I want to make sure that I process this as big as I can on the material. I really want to be able to see as many of the details as possible. So I'm actually going to choose auto fit, and it'll enlarge it to the largest size that can fit on this material. I also want to center it on the material, because you can see it's centered. When it brings it in, it's centered on the processing area, but I want my material is longer than the processing area, so I want to center it on that. So I'm just going to click here, and you have the option of either center on material or center on processing area. So I'm going to click center on material, and you'll see that it's placed it still on the processing area, but in the center of my crystal. Now the next thing you have to do is set our processing settings. The nice thing is that because I'm using the xTool K9 crystal, I can actually pull those processing settings directly from the material library. So I can click on the K9 inner carved glass and apply. And now it'll automatically give me their optimized processing material for this crystal. So an interesting thing is that your processing speed can vary depending on the orientation of your image. And now in some cases, you need your image to be in a certain orientation because that's the orientation your material is in. In this particular case, whether I print the image this way or whether I print it vertically, it's actually going to look the same because the crystal is a rectangular prism. So I'm actually going to go and see what the difference in processing time is, and I'll probably just choose the fastest one. So right now I have it lying flat, and I'm going to hit process. And it's telling me that this will take about 25 minutes. So I'm going to go back, rotate it, and see if that changes anything. So to rotate it, I just click on the image and I click rotate here. It's gonna show me the different directions the rotation can go in. So I would want to rotate it along this red circle here. So that's in the X axis. So I'm just going to hit 90 degrees. So now it's vertical on the crystal. I'm going to make sure that we're still centered on the material, which we are. And let's hit process. Oh, and this one's going to be just a few minutes faster, but I'll go that way. The nice thing also is you can get a preview of how it's going to process things. You can run it a little bit faster so we can see the video. And it's showing you all the moves that the laser is going to make, and you can sort of make sure that it's including the image and there aren't any like weird random lines that aren't supposed to be there. And you can actually rotate it while it's processing and sort of see how it's going to be engraving. It can be a little bit tricky to kind of get it back to where it started. There we go. And it looks like it's going to be okay on my preview. So the next thing to do is just to hit start. Now it's going to send the file to the laser, and I'll meet you up at the laser and we can start the engraving. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to actually engrave the crystal with the enclosure up so that you can see what's happening. I'm going to be wearing my UV protective glasses while I do so. In general, though, it is always safest to have the enclosure down. And since I'm going to have the enclosure up, I'm going to have to be really careful that no one else comes into the room, including my dog, because they won't necessarily be wearing UV protective glasses. So I'm just going to keep an eye on the door. But obviously, it's always safer to have the enclosure down. All right, let's get started. Just look how great that came out. My sister-in-law is going to love this. And for an extra special touch, let's light it up. There we go. And see how easy that was? In less than half an hour, we created a very unique, customized gift that every mother would love. So happy Mother's Day, everybody, and happy crafting.